thank you, Coach James, for coming back and talking ball again. Me and Coach James are it's going to be a little more casual than it usually is, especially if I can get that glare outside the back of my bald head. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're just going to talk ball. I mean, we'll continue to talk duo. I think Coach wants to talk some unbalanced um, and a couple other things today. We might get in a little RPO or pass game too. But Coach James, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Also, Coach is learning coaches down at San Antonio Brandeis. Is that how you pronounce
Yep.
it? Yep.
Brandeis High School.
In
Yep.
the greatest city on the planet.
I
I
love it.
lived there for
Yep.
6 years, so I will overwhelmingly say that.
Right.
Coach, I mean, we were talking off screen beforehand. Let's start with going back into duo real quick. I mean,
Okay.
you did it. I mean, me and you chit chatted last time about it, and then I did like a short minute video because I talked to you and I talked to Coach privately at a college about duo, and I kind of left it open ended. Like there isn't really, I mean, rules. I mean, you finally figured out some and gave me some, but I
Yeah.
didn't put it on that video. But most coaches don't have rules, or they won't really tell us the rules. And like, obviously, people call it power without the puller, but I mean, me and you talked off screens like it's power puller, but it looks like inside zone a lot, and people argue about that. And I got an
Yeah.
old Cool Clink video of Bob Wiley talking about how much it's more like inside zone. So kind of, I mean, floor's yours up on that part.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. I don't know if it's like I don't know. Duo apparently has been around for years, and then people just start noticing it. And I don't know if it started off as being inside zone and just get some double teams. So we're going to change up inside zone rules, but it's like everything else. I'm a closet O line guy. I usually coach the skill guys like running backs, and so they want their name in the paper. And so when I was really kind of getting going as a young coach, I joined the staff in San Antonio at Southwest High School, and we ran a lot of three back in the back of like Maryland I power football things that people aren't doing, especially in our area. So and we had a lot of success with it, won a lot of games, and so I hung out with the offensive line coach. And one thing I've learned about offensive line coaches is they're a different breed of group, right? But if you find yourself a great offensive line coach, I figure you found like your second wife. Like you know what I mean? Like you got to have that guy on your staff,
Yeah.
you know. And so I've been around. I've been blessed to be around some good ones, and I feel like they're most of those guys I've been around. They're way smarter than I am, and I don't consider myself super intelligent at all by any means, but I'm smart enough to know to shut up and listen, right? So when I'm hanging around these guys, they one thing I learned is you got to have rules. Everybody has a concept of thing, but you got to have rules. And for whatever reason on this duo thing, nobody will really sit down and say, here's what your center does, right guard, right tackle. And I like rules to be simple, like most of us, right? Because if we're not college football coaches and we don't see our kids all day long, I'm like, what can I give them that yeah, I think I'm going to see a 3-4 front where they're playing four eyes and those eights are outside backers. But what happens if they shift and decide they're going to play a four-man front tonight or slide their 3-4 to confuse my rules or load the box or whatever, play a bear front as we were watching some video before we started recording where you showed me a team lined up against NDSU in a bear front. And the only explanation is they're trying to confuse the guys up front because if you can slow those guys down, then you got a shot. So in my head, I wasn't, I understood, and I think I sent you the concept. Okay, so here's what we know about duo. We know we want to create a whole bunch of double teams on the interior is what we're talking about, right? So in between tackles, or from tackle to tackle, the backside guy usually is either a fan guy or I've even heard pass set to drive that guy
Yeah.
field to wash him out, creates a good cutback lane. Um, and everybody else, you're trying to create a double team, to backer, and it's a true thing. Here's something else we know. We also know that besides that, anybody else in the D gaps, right? We'll say the D gap, you really don't have an answer for, right? You have to formation those guys or block them with guys coming from the outside. If you have a tight end, you can probably block them with him, okay? But the more guys you add, more guys are going to get in the box. We also know the running back, when you give him the ball, but you need him to be deep as possible, right? Because he needs time because we know he's going to read the Mike linebacker in a 3-4 that's like the play side inside guy, And so good thing we say Mike linebacker because I had a conversation with the coach. 3-3 defense, the Mike is different than like a 3-4, right?
Yeah.
So basically, that's basically the concept of the deal, right? So, but I was like drawing it up, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but how do I put those into words? So I kept hearing. What I did was, and I think I told you this, is I watched every film over COVID, which COVID's been good to a lot of coaches in regards of education, right, and reaching out to people on social media, whatever. And so I drew up every formation that I felt like that a lot of teams run, right? And then with more than either 3 men to one side or in 10 or 11 or 20 personnel, right? I did that. And then I drew up as many defensive fronts I saw. Like if I saw a 3-4 that was slid, half a gap or a full gap over or whatever. And then I was like, I got to find rules. So first I drew up the basic ones, right? 4-3, 4-2, 3-4, 3-3 stack, even drew up a bear front. And then I said, okay, so what rules will get this play blocked? Because I know duo wants to hit that running back is driving, almost like power, the play side butt, right, of the center. That's where his aiming point needs to start. And then he's going to read that Mike backer from there to depending on where he's going to make his cut. So now that I did that, I realized I was like tearing up paper. My wife was like, are you mad? Like, why are you tearing up paper and throwing all this stuff away? And I was like, because I can't figure out how to block everybody with these rules. So I went to inside zone rules, and they seemed to be working. Everything was fine. Like, if I teach it with the way this one inside zone football coach taught me, then I could get the double teams on the nose, shade, and a 3, right, or a 1 and a 3, and it worked out. But then, the way I learned it is the technique that comes along with duo that I feel like was a groundbreaking technique in my mind that made duo even better was the gallop technique, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the way where one of those offensive linemen knows he's the gallop player, and he's going to his first step, he's going to step and he's going to bang that defender with his forearm, like trying to knock a door off the hinges, okay, before he actually starts galloping on his inside shoulder.
It seems like, to me, it's always that place, it's that front side guard. Like, because I talked to NDSU's coach, and
right.
Every time I saw a gallop technique, it was that play side guard, because obviously, typically what you have is that center and guard to backside backer. That's not 90% of the time, unless there's some weird formation. And that's where I always saw the gallop.
Right. And that's what I basically started figuring it out. But when I was doing the zone, I'm like, okay, because bear with me. If I'm the center and I'm the backside guard and I am comboing the no shade, right, or the one technique.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I'm the center, we're running zone right. Well, I'm supposed to go right, but in the inside zone, if there's nobody, if I'm uncovered, then I've heard rules as you're gonna pick up, right? You're gonna pick up that backside foot, put it right back down, and you're into with that double team. Or pick up the play side foot, put it right back down, and you're into that double team. Your eyes stay in your gap. Okay? So I was like, okay. So that's why I went with inside zone rules up front. I was like, that makes sense to me. I can block it if I do that. Well then, okay, so then if he's doing that, does that mean that he's automatically the gallop guy, and then the other guy's trying to overtake him and do all this other kind of stuff? And so I was sold on it until I started thinking, well, I like the gallop step better. So, one, how do they know? And you just answered it. Okay. Usually it's going to be the center and the innermost guard that are going to be the gallop steppers. Okay. And then here's the other thing I learned. A lot of coaches make them identify the mic. Like, identify the mic, because that means that's where the play side double team is headed. That means if I'm the other double team, I'm headed to the next linebacker over. So identifying the mic help them do that. So once I got going with all this in the inside zone deal, then I realized I'm like, that's tough, because then you can line up a defense where, let's say I'm the play side guard and the play side tackle. Okay. So if I have a 3 and a 5, okay. Now, of course, you're going to say, oh, wait, there's supposed to be a tight end there. All right. Well, that tight end, if that guy's a 5 and not like a 7, you know what I mean? Then that's a hell of a block to try to mash him down and make work. You know what I'm saying? So it just, I don't know. I just didn't like it. It wasn't giving me that feeling that duo gave me. So what I started thinking is, like I said, power without the puller. So I said, let me start over. Power rules all the way across. So everybody knows, gap down backer. Okay. But let's just go with the first part of the rule, gap, right? And everybody knows, is there anybody in the gap? So what I did is, it's kind of like power rules, because I said, well, what if everybody blocked down or their backside gap. Let's start with that. If there's anybody in my backside gap, I gotta block down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went that way first. Okay. So if anybody's in my backside, and we're talking from the center to the all the way to the play side. No backside lineman. This is only play side. So from the center, play side guard, play side tackle, play side tight end, play side wing back, whoever it is, if there's somebody in your inside or backside gap, then you block down. So if it's dual right, the left gap, I gotta step that foot and I'm blocking down. Then I said, okay, well, what are those other backside guys? Those to me were easy. If I'm the backside guard, I block play side the first guy past the center. Right?
Yeah.
If it's a nose and I got nobody, guess what? I'm working with the center on the nose, right?
Yep.
So that's where the second part of the rule came in for also the play side. Okay. If there's nobody in my backside gap, all right, then now I'm working play side. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm either going down, that's my first rule. Nobody's there. I'm working play side, whatever I find. Okay. And that's how you're gonna create your double teams. And now here's the kicker. I know some coaches at this point will be like, okay, well, if he goes down and you get a late blitzer through that gap, well, then you're screwed because there comes the linebacker. Okay, I thought of that too. So then I said, well, the same guy, if you draw up every defense that's supposed to block down and he's, quote unquote, his gap is open, well, he is the galloper. You know what I'm saying? That's the galloper. So that ends up being the galloper every time. Kind of like how you just said that we just talked about the inside zone. The guy who picks his foot up and puts it back down because he's uncovered is the galloper. And so if I'm the galloper, now I just change my technique. And so what does that do for me? Well, the gallop technique does everything. So now my shoulders are squared, my eyes are up the field, and I'm into that guy, and I'm not solely committed on trying to play side gap. And because if you can say whatever you want, I know those college guys, you got to be hip to hip, foot to foot, four eyes, on the backer, or 2 eyes on the backer, 2 eyes on the man, however they talk about. But I just have a hard time with that because as soon as I say zone or play side gap, I feel like my linemen turn and they're trying to work. But if you come and you just bang that guy without even moving my eyes, and you're hitting him with that gallop technique to start off, and then your other guy who's on the double team with you he's trying to overtake, or he has the true zone block, then now you're working it and your eyes are in that play side gap, which is that play side A. That's where you want duo to go, okay? And you're working that guy up the field. Now if you get a late blitzer, guess what? Linebacker, you pick him up easy because he sees him, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead. You want to stop me?
No, keep going, Coach. Yeah, you're good.
So that's kind of where I was at, and once I drew it up against defenses, exotic, otherwise, So the worst I could come up with is someone put somebody down in almost every gap, right? But I mean that's goal line anyway, right? So if they're putting all them guys in there, and you got like 10, well, let's say, let's be real. Let's say you got like 21 personnel, and you got 21 personnel. You got 2 receivers out wide somewhere, and you got freaking 8 or 9 guys up there, and they're one-on-one outside. Well, then you should be throwing it anyway. Yeah. I mean, right? I mean, that's what they say. So if not, you'll just be running off of everybody blocking down, down, down. So I kind of got my board. You tell me, you can see this, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, and of course, my first marker doesn't work. That's the way it always is.
Hey, that's how it always is. We had our kids in our classroom the other day, and of course, half my markers were dried out. So.
Oh yeah. So we already talked about the fact that under center, I do it differently there too. To me, you can run under center, run a pistol, and I know the guy I learned it from swore against shotgun. He said you're not going to get the same downhill deal. But a lot of guys are lining up those guys in like a sidecar, as you call it, a little bit deeper than a normal shotgun gun right. And I feel like that quarterback's got to catch it, and if the running back leaves on the quarterback's catch and pushes it deep, then that running back can get more of a full start. So I'm doing that a shotgun.
I brought that up when I talked to that coach. He understands why some people think that, but he's like, yeah, you can run a shotgun. I was like, your footwork. He's like, instead of shuffling laterally out, you're shuffling laterally in. Right. You're back. You're still reading. Yeah. So he was like, yeah. I was like, it's a little tougher probably inside the 5 or 10 on like goal line where you're getting a lot heavier gaps and stuff like that. But he's like, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to run it. Because like I said, I use a lot of what we talked about when I met with him and picked his brain. And like I said, it was some really good stuff. And like I said, I watched a lot of NDSU film.
Right.
I mean,
I remember you told me that, and keep going. I'm listening.
and it's just like, oh, that's why you guys are really good. You guys can run power really well, and then you just run the crap out of duo and just, I mean, It also helps. I will say this: they have 6'5" linemen that weigh 290 pounds and can just
Right.
maul people. Um, but I mean, I don't think you need. I mean, that's the great thing about this play is you don't need gigantic linemen. You're basing your it's double teams. I mean,
Right.
that's why people run power anyways, is because I get the double teams to the backers and I get puller. Yeah.
Angles and double teams. Okay, so I've really never been at a school where, um, we've had these monster offensive linemen, right? So because of that, I mean, to me, I was like, okay, duo. But also, I know personnel, and I should have to tell this to coaches. Coaches know their kids. You should know your kids. And if you go in and you have athletic linemen, then I feel like you can run zone. You can run an inside, whatever, like a tight zone, wide zone, whatever. You can be a zone. But if you have bigger guys necessarily can't move, but one guy that you know that can pull, well, then you can run power. But what happens if you got that? You got a whole bunch of guys, and everybody is lazy. Nobody can really pull. They're not interested in running too far. And honestly, that's how I stumbled on the duo because I'm like, dang, who's gonna pull? All my pullers suck. And I started talking to the coach like, who's your puller? Week one. That's what he told me. And I was like, oh my god. So I started saying, well, what about duo? We don't pull anybody. Everybody is just basically trying to create a double team in there. And he was like, I love it. So we started running duo, and it looked real good in the spring. And then here came COVID, right? And then here came me switching jobs too. So,
Yeah.
Go figure. So I just kind of drew up kind of like a 4-2 box of how it would look or whatever, right? I don't know what it is, but I've fallen in love with this form, like this kind of box look right here, because this guy can be anybody. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of coaches like me have a problem finding a true tight end, right?
Yeah.
And what I was gonna do anyway is I was saying if I don't have a true tight end or it's a guy I felt good that could play here in line as a tight end, well, I was gonna find some kind of extra fullback or tailback that's a good blocker or whatever, and put him right here and motion him and do whatever. So I like it. So anyway, so here we go. So now, let's just say we have this box right here. Well, let's just start off here real easy. So here's who the running back. We're going duo right. That's who the running back is going to read. That's his read when he is getting ready to pound the ball, right? When he takes his little step and he's coming downhill. So now let's talk about the deal. So we're going duo to the right. And you probably can't see that arrow, but we're going this direction. So if I'm on the backside, so let's start simply backside first. I'll start opposite. We already know backside guard, tackle, tight end, whoever it is, you're responsible for that number of defensive player head up to pass the center. I say head up for the guard's sake.
Yeah.
Right? That backside guard, because if you get that odd front, then there's no space. Let's say you get a 3-3 stack or even a 3-4, whatever, but 3-3 stack's the main one. Well, there's a nose and the next guy's a 5. Well, he's going to end up with the center. So how we have it lined up right over here is you got the nose, you got the center. So backside, I got this guy. 2 ways to get him. He can go and he can just go. He can step inside out and block this guy, right? Boom, boom, like most of us do, okay? He can do that deal. Or if he doesn't want to do this deal, what I've said is I talked to that first coach, Coach Yanez, down there in Houston, Texas at Bel Air, one of the Bel Air high schools, okay? He had him pass set inside, right, to protect the quarterback like it's a pass, and then he walls him out because then you create a pass rush, right?
Yeah.
The real good schools, if you do that, create the pass rush, you create another big hole, all right? Now, the backside guard, he's responsible for the first guy. The tackle had the second guy head up to pass the center. The guard has the first guy head up to pass the center. Well, here he is. Nobody's walked up. Nobody's there. Boom, here we go. So he's here. So I got him. Easy money. Now, everybody else plays side, okay, starts with backside gap. Block, and where I'm from, we call it blocking down. I know a lot of coaches are like, well, why don't you call it blocking inside? Whatever. Block inside, block backside, block back, whatever you want to call it. He's got that deal. So he's saying, I'm blocking back. But here's the deal. If he's blocking back, here's where we want the ball to be run. He knows I'm the gallop guy. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and it's tough for the center to gallop. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. It is because he's gonna snap that ball, and but all I told him is just snap it, bang into that guy. okay, and then try to get that gallop technique before you work. So he's snapping the ball, he's going to bang him, and he's in that gallop technique, and they are working this block vertically. That's another important deal. I know some guys don't like to hear the vertical push, right? Because you're talking about all this stuff. If this guy runs backside over here, I mean, we should be gone. We should already have the ball. We should be away, right?
Yeah.
If he starts creeping, well, now that's the tackle. He's considered first level, so the tackle's blocking him, and we're going to turn him loose back here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll call a different play next time and say, okay, they got too many, but based on rule, if he walks up in this gap, he's now the second guy, so now that's the tackle's guy. So we're here. He's not worried about anything to guard. He knows it's the first guy, pre-snap, so he's working to overtake. Gallop stepper, he's here. Now, same rules, okay? Is there anybody backside? No. So I'm going to play side gap. That's the second part of the rule, all right? Play side tackle. Is there somebody here? Yes, I got him, okay? He's right there. There's somebody back. I got to go. There's nobody back in my first part. I'm in the second part of my rule, so that makes me the gallop stepper. Boom. So here we go. We're working. All right? I'm on the play side. Even the wing back, full back, H-back, whatever you want to call them, has the same rule. So he's saying, is there anybody inside of me in the gap? Yes, I got this 5. If he was a wide 5, don't worry. If he, I wouldn't even call it a wide 5. I'd be like a 9. I just go ahead and call him a 9 if he's outside the wing. So if he's a 9, well, that's my second part of the rule. Then it turns into like that true power kick if he was a 9 out here. Then I work inside out. I kick him out because I know that there was nobody in this inside gap right here. All right? But since there is, I got him. I've got to go ahead and block however he wants to make that happen. I've never really seen – I'll take that back. On the JV sub-levels, I've seen where this guy is so bad he stood there and he got his ass kicked out from that position. But if you play in a good football team, as soon as this guy goes down, what's he doing? Right? He's going to try to get in his hip pocket, right?
Yeah.
We're going to try to squeeze a little bit. So this guy is just kind of like one by one, or however you want to put him. You put him closer. I actually put him closer than that. Sometimes I would tell these wings, the way we play them, is I take his inside foot, and it's behind, a yard behind almost, this tackle's outside foot. That's how we do it every time.
Yeah.
Because that way we're not giving away tendencies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there you go. That's how you get it done. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, and you can stop me, and I can drop a different defensive front because I love it against the 3-3 stack. 3-3 stack is Taylor Banks to do well.
I drew it up against the 3-3 stack, and I was like, oh, well, this sucks for them.
Yeah, it does.
But in all honesty, that's really any power type of offense. Like, because we talk about that all the time because we have a 3-3 stack team in our league, and we're like, against our offense, I'll take it. They're built to fight spread teams and pass game, not have somebody whack them in the face. That's just not how they are. Now, for that, how deep do you have your running back there?
I always tell my running back he's at least 8 yards from where the ball is spotted.
Okay.
Right? 8 yards. So so if you tell your quarterback, I tell my quarterback, I want your toes at 5 yards.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how we run pistol. Toes at, I know some people are like 4.5. So that way they're a true 5. So it goes back and forth. But this guy is basically 5 yards deep, the quarterback. So that means the tailback now is going to be 3 yards deeper than the quarterback. And we have them like that at every pistol formation, so it doesn't change.
Yeah. And going back to your earlier statement, you made the comment, it's been around for years. I got a video showing it back from 2000, 2001. And, you made the comment about, why people pay attention. I think people are paying attention to it now, A, because we got a lot more time to look at stuff. Yeah. But B, it really started taking hold about a year or two ago when the Cowboys ran the crap out of it with Zeke. Baylor was also running it well. You had those two teams.
Well, you know who was running it? You know who the Cowboys were running it better with, right? They were running better with DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
DeMarco Murray, when the Cowboys made that run, and I'm going to go ahead and say it on camera, that was a catch. They even changed the catch rule. That was a catch. Des Bryant caught that ball. That should have been our year, but whatever.
Yeah.
Tony Romo, that was a great season. But go ahead.
But there was a 4 or 5 year period where they ran the crap out of duo, and it's oh. And everybody thought it was inside zone at first, and because no one really was paying attention. And then this past year, you had NDSU run the crap out of it. You had LSU run it. Sam Pittman is anybody you talk to says go talk to Sam Pittman at Arkansas because they ran the crap out of it at Georgia, and I guess he's been talking about it for years. Alabama ran it some this year, and then a third of the crappy Big Ten schools.
Right.
And no offense to them, but I mean, you're not Ohio State or Penn State, so I
Right.
mean, you're not going to be viewed nationally that way. But like, I know Purdue ran it, Northwestern ran it some because I know one of their coaches talked this offseason about it. The Panthers tight end coach from last year talked about this offseason, so it's like they've ran it a little bit last year. I mean,
It's on fire.
yeah, it's on fire right now, and like it's kind of like I mean, and I gotta be careful with my words here, but it's kind of like the three high safety or the four eye stuff for defense. Like that's their
Yeah, it
thing.
is.
Duos one of the I mean duos and RPOs. I mean, but RPOs has been a thing for years, and
Right.
it's just how advanced are you with it? Like you guys see the crap out of it down there in Texas.
Yeah.
We don't really see it that much up here. I mean, some teams will
Right.
dabble in it, and I mean some of our big programs run it, but like there's like maybe one team in my league that's a true RPO team. A
Right.
buddy of mine down the road runs the crap out of it off power, but
Yep.
like not most people do here. So like it is that what that is. I mean,
Yep. Depends on your team. Depends on your quarterback. I mean, that's the big deal. Like anything else, offenses, it really doesn't matter what level you are. Offenses are quarterback driven, right? I
yeah,
mean, if I've got a kid that is not a runner and he can throw the ball back before RPOs were invented, then we were spread out and we were slinging it. I mean, that's what you did, right? And if I got a kid who was fleet of foot, he could run, he could make moves, he's like another running back, but could throw a little bit, then you were running the option, right?
yeah,
That's what you did. And so all and I said spread it out and throw it, but air raid, right? Air raid,
yep.
air raid, air raid. That's the other biggest thing, right? But so I'm like, okay, so what happens if you have a kid that can do both? Like let's take a guy. Okay, I know I hate doing this comparing to NFL teams. I hate that because I'm in high school. But Donovan McNabb for the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles are running, RPOs now with their other quarterbacks. Could you imagine
Oh
Donovan
yeah.
McNabb?
And his
I mean,
prime, Jesus.
yeah, I mean because he's held to bring down, and he can throw it, and he's smart. So it's like I wonder what happened, but whatever. Coaches didn't think
Yeah.
that's what they
Well,
wanted to run. That's
think of
whatever.
like the Byron Leftwiches, the Dominic McNabbs that could have benefited from some of this stuff. Like Byron Leftwich was
Yep.
not a horrible quarterback by any means.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, he made the Jackson Jaguars competitive every year.
Right,
I mean they were 8-8, but I mean, look at what they are right now. I mean,
right. Well, hey,
so
I got an argument with the coach the other night. He told me, he said, "Well, my quarterback can't run. We can't do RPOs." I said, "Coach, they have RPOs. We can give it to your running back, or he can throw it. Like he never has to be involved
yeah,
in running." So then we talked for about those RPOs. But speaking of RPOs, if you wanted me to jump ahead a little bit before I do up a different front or whatever,
yeah, go into that. Yeah,
okay. Well, I mean, this is a perfect situation, right? Because now goes out to those people that are like, oh well, you got to have three on one side. Well, I don't feel like you really do. If I erase this guy and went to like a trips or whatever, we could still read. Obviously, dual to the right. So if I said, I try to do read different. I give different signals. So if you do this, I know you're reading somebody, right?
yeah,
So I'll do something like that, like see, that's my read. Like, what do you see? So duo right, which I have a name for that too, and then we call it, in your reading. Well, obviously, we're whenever I call read anyway, there has to be like a rule. You got to know who you're reading, and so I made like a baseline deal of whoever the last man on the line of scrimmage is with their hand down, and the only time that changes is game week, right? If we say we're gonna read the four eye because he's really good, and if we read him, then he plays slower. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But other than that, we're reading the five. So let's say this guy's your read. Okay, well now everything's on. All right, so here you go. So if I'm the quarterback, right, and I'm doing this deal right here, whether I'm a runner or I'm a thrower, whatever. But we're talking about as Rich Hargett with S2A would say, the unlocked or the read it all the way out RPO, where it's going to be like a triple option. So I'm either going to give, I'm gonna keep, and I've got to access throw outside, right?
yeah,
I've got something to play side to throw it. Or I'm gonna like triple option. So here's my give read, right? And then I'm gonna have my pitch read out here, right?
yeah,
So you got that one, and if you want to lock it up, well, we just did it, right? We just did it. If I just call duo and I tag on a pass play, well, these guys are running duo. He's locked on, and then now we're throwing whatever pass play I put on it. A duo stick. Okay,
yeah,
guess what? The same guy sometimes that you're reading on stick or duo spot, how I run it where the guy comes inside and sits over his backer, he's the same guy that the running back is reading if he gets it. is the same guy as the stick guy is going to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or that snag. So it's right there. And then what do you do if you're in this formation? Well, I don't ever have to tag this guy. If he is at this position and I've called read, he knows he's arcing for the alley defender.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I don't know. I guess I just had a lot of people tell me, well, coach, what about this guy? What if he does this? And I'm like, well, wherever all the other guys are, they're gonna have to defend the pass. So that's how you would just do like a duo read.
Yeah.
It's an RPO, and as you know, some people are like, oh, we got to get the ball out quick. Well, this is a good way too, because those double teams like that, think about that. It takes you longer time to get to second level when you're on that double team. I think that's another reason why it's becoming a bigger deal, because you were seeing linemen downfield. Well, in the inside zone, depending on how you coach it, you could get a lineman down the field faster than what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the duo to me slows them down, because these four guys know they should be in a combo every play. And in some situations, this guy is on a combo as well. You know what I mean?
You talked about unbalanced before we came on. Let's look at a little bit of that. I mean,
okay. So we're good on. So when I was talking about unbalanced, I was going to talk to you about a whole different other play, or do you want me to just keep going like duo?
No, go to the next play. I think people have more questions on duo. They're either going to reach out to me or you, and
Perfect.
A lot of time I'm just going to refer them to you because kind of like you, like I'm in that exploratory phase. And I explained that in my short video. It's like I'm in the exploratory phase. I was able to talk to two coaches who know what the hell they're doing, and they kind of put me in the right direction. But like, going back to your 3-man search thing, I had somebody ask me comment on my video about that. Like, what about the two-surf side? And my response was, I mean, most coaches will tell you can't run at the two-surf side. Which I mean, you can start RPO and stuff, and it also depends on what you're getting. Like,
right.
I mean, if they're still giving me a 6-man box, it's going to be a little tougher. I mean, unless you're reading somebody. But if you're giving me a 5-man box, I can make that work. I mean,
right.
So,
well, you were talking about it earlier. You mentioned something to me, and then I'll move on to unbalanced stuff and some other runs that a lot of people don't know, because I know for a fact, because at Southwest High School here in San Antonio, we created these runs, right?
Yeah.
And so people have been in and talked to us about it. But to your fact of, okay, I don't remember what you said y'all ran. Let me draw a little bigger. I don't remember what y'all said y'all ran offensively, the formation-wise. But if you're lining up, let's say anything 10 personnel, right? I'm just going to draw on pistol.
Yeah.
If you're lining up 10 personnel, and for whatever reason, let's see how good my red looks. For whatever reason, you're getting that 5-2 look, right? Is that what you told me?
Yeah.
So however they want to do it, where they want to do it with the 4 eyes. Normally they go with the 4 eyes here because they have these walked up outside backers.
Yep.
Okay. And you're getting this look right here. And you've got spread or trips or whatever. Okay, well, let's do the math here, okay? If they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys here, and yeah, it's 7 on 7, but I mean, they've only got 4 more guys than you got 4. That means everybody else has got to be man.
Yeah.
Right? Or if there's trips, they can zone that side, but they're man on the backside for sure, because they have to roll their coverage down. So if that's happening, well, then now you got to throw the ball. I mean, that's just math, and I don't think I should have to explain that. But the good thing about duo, and I'll say this too, is that you can add people to any side without messing up the integrity of the play. Like, and everybody still has the same rule, and you create more double teams the more guys they bring up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we looked at the film a little earlier. Like, India, you had 5 guys on one side at one point, and it's just like, well, it sucks to be the defense right now because good luck.
Yep. Because we're either going the other way or we're throwing the ball outside. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So I guess we're good there. So what I'm going to talk to you about first, Coach, is this play that in San Antonio, Southwest High School, when I got there, they were already talking about this play, and then I gave my input on it, and then we kind of made it better from there, and it took off for us. So this play, we just called it kick right, kick left, and we ended up going colors because in numbers with it sometimes, just to go away from just saying kick right, kick left. All right, so however you want to call it, but basically the whole bottom line is here's how it started off. We were going to line up in 2 tight ends. So Maryland, is that big enough, Coach?
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So Maryland I formation, right? So you're going to line up here, and I'll do letters for these guys. So this is your tight end Y, and I know some people call this guy H or a U, your other tight end. They could be extra tackles, but they're good if their tight ends are with eligible numbers because now you're going to get a 2-high shell at least, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then here's your Q under center. For all you under center guys, here was your fullback. We call this guy the middle back, and then here was your tailback. Okay. That's what we lined up in. Okay. And I know, depending on your community, I'm going to go ahead and preface this. We got in this in Southwest, they still run it. They're like, the kids are bred, they love it. It's still going on, even though I'm not there anymore. And the other coaches, this is what they know. If you go somewhere else, I went to a different school, and the parents are like, well, are we going to throw the ball more? Are we going to do that? Well, then that's probably not the school you want to go. You got to know your kids. You got to know your community. Okay. And because if you're not tough, to run this consistently. And this whole offense, okay, so we're going to call this play kick. This whole offense is predicated on 3 yards and a cloud of dust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want 3 yards because on 4th and 1, we should be able to get 3 yards, okay? So it didn't really matter what they gave us, but for crap and giggles, let's go ahead and draw up an odd front defense this time. So what we normally got, when we got this right here, we would get like this, and believe it or not, we get 5s, okay? But let's draw them with 4s. I don't know. Let's draw 4s, and they'd walk up. Let's act like an odd front defense.
You'd get 5s against that?
Yeah, we would,
Oh,
just
God.
because whatever reason, teams that see tight ends, they're just like, oh, we're going to play a 5 technique, you know? But Coach, I mean, because we never got a bear front. Never saw a bear front, okay? Always either saw head-up 4s, 4 eyes, 5s, but mainly we saw 5s. That's how they wanted to play it, okay?
God.
And a lot of them did this right here, okay? And then they kind of rolled back their corners, right? So I'm, contain guys. These guys are man-to-man on those tight ends, okay? And these are the 4th guys stepped up. To me, that's a solid defense. That's okay. You got it accounted for. I respect you as a coach because I'm like, okay, you got bodies where you can play a good defense. And here's the deal. The rules were so simple. So how it was on kick is, and this we're going kick right, okay? So if I am this in man over here, I'm blocking in, down, back, inside, however you want to call it. I'm blocking down, period. Whatever is there, I'm blocking down, okay? Yeah. If I am the play side tackle, the next guy inside, I am going to inside out kick, almost like I'm a fullback in power. I'm going to inside out kick. The first thing, head up, outside that guy.
Okay.
So he even used a move. It was almost like, it looked like a swat and swim when I saw the offensive line coaching it. He would step and kind of push that tight end out of the way and get his inside of him, and he's trying to get to this inside number of this guy. Boom, and he's kicking this guy out towards the sideline, okay? Now, you're not going to believe this, but everywhere else, Coach, play side gap. However I don't know what the terms are all around the United States but here, at least in Southwest High School, Texas there, we call that play side gap. And so all they did is, anybody in this gap, I'm play side gapping. So this would turn into a what? A double team. You end up with a double team because that's what it ended up looking like. I'm play side gapping. Okay? If the nose came with me, I got him. He doesn't, I'm play side gapping. I'm play side gapping. I'm play side gapping. I'm play side gapping. Now, the last 2 guys, when you had a 3-man ends back door, that was a rule we had. They were both, I've heard a million times call it. Some people call it seal and wheel. Right? Seal, hinge and wheel? I don't know. I've heard a million different ones, but I'm here. I don't get anybody, then I'm willing back. I'm here. I got somebody's there. I'm trying to get this guy. Unless there's 4 races here, I got him, then he would wheel back possibly. Okay? But that's how we protected the play. All right, so now here's the fun part. Check this out. So this guy right here, the fullback, is going to be the first guy through. And what he's going to do is he's just going to step, and he's going to get his inside shoulder, and he's going to rub off the butt of the down block of the tight end. Shoulders square, up the line of scrimmage, right? I'm rimming off this block right here, and I'm going to blow up what's in the hole. So if he comes over, whatever's in the hole, I blow up. If nobody shows up when I'm up in the hole, I got to block inside.
Yeah.
First thing I see, block inside. The middle back, and I'll tell you why in a minute, okay, he's going to take a lateral step, which means on the snap of the play, he's taking and pointing his toe almost at the sideline because we're going to pitch the ball backwards, okay? And he's going to take that, and then he is going to put his backside hand on the fullback's middle of his shoulder pads. Okay, so he's here, and he's blowing up the hole. Nobody's here to outside. Right? Okay? Now the quarterback, and this is the guy that needed the most work. When he pitches the ball straight back to the tailback, and I'll show you that what the rules are in a minute for him, he has got to be looking at him. Like, so he it's almost like when he was there, he took his play side foot and try to throw his heel, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, turn, it's because it's a reverse snap pitch, right? So it's almost like he was falling backwards in the line of scrimmage, pitching the ball straight back to the tailback. And once he pitched the ball, soft toss to the tailback, he was going to go try to reach the butt of the middle back. And then he was up in the hole. Right? So you can see all these bodies coming in the hole. And then the tailback, a lot of my tailbacks start off, they want to take that GT counter step. No, you're taking a fall step, we call it. So you remember how you teach the guard who's uncovered the inside zone to pick up that foot, put it down?
Yeah.
He's doing that with his backside foot. He picks up his kick right. He picks up his backside foot. He puts it straight back down, and he steps with his play side foot, okay, to the hole. So it's almost like he went here, and then he's stepping, and we always told him to aim at the 1-2 second down lineman, and that'll be important when you go on balance. And he's catching this pitch, running full speed, and he's up in that hole. Now, coaching points, because you got 3 guys up in the hole lead blocking. What do teams do? They try to kind of force this guy in and scoot an extra guy off the edge. It's all good. The middle back had a 2-part rule before he got to the hole. His rule was, if I am headed with the fullback into the hole and out of my peripheral side, I see someone of a different color free, I peel off and block. So he's coming, and he's going to peel off, and he's going to block that guy if you get that. All that mattered was getting the ball to him and getting him escorted through the hole. So no matter what, at the very least, you had 2 lead blockers in the quarterback and the fullback, or you get 1, 2, 3 up in the hole. There you go. And then that was the play, coach. I mean, the reason we ran out of this formation the most, because teams couldn't guess what side you're going to. There's no motion. There's no anything. It's just, here we go. We're picking the side, and we're attacking. And I will tell you, as we got better at this play, we used to be able to just go ahead and we would run it like in hurry up. We'd run it. We'd get down, run it left. We keep running just like that. As fast as we can snap the ball.
It reminds me a lot of when I was at Marion Elgin, we ran double tight, double wing. It reminds me of a lot of superpower to an extent. Like, you're not pulling anybody there.
Right.
Pretty much all the guard and tackle rules that you have are now, all that we had are now with your, like, fullback and Mike. And, like, we had, like, our superpower, our quarterback led through. And, like, it's very similar in that aspect. And also, while you start drawing up, I'm trying, like, okay, can I run do this? How would I?
Yeah. No, I got you. I was like, something's turning in there. I got you.
Yeah. I'm just like.
I talk to these spread guys, you know, when I tell them this, you can see their look. They're like, well, like, the whole defense is up there. Because a lot of times you have those guys cheating up.
Yeah.
Those safeties aren't 12 yards deep. No, sir. They're like 8.
Yeah, they're 7, 8 yards, and they ain't stepping backwards to start either. Their first step is foot forward.
As soon as they see which way the ball's going, they are up. So that set them up for play action off of it.
Oh, why pop on against those teams are beautiful. It's like, deuces. Like, if you have a decently athletic tight end, he don't have to be great. Like, he's gonna sneak right behind you. You'll catch him from behind. That's fine. He'll gain 12 yards though.
Exactly. It'll be a first down, and if we're all about being a team that's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, then it's on. So now that we had big, we would do the same thing, Coach. We called it thin right, thin left, and it was a tackle over. So imagine that. So here's your Y. What we did is we took out one of the tight ends and we brought in a fast dude, a receiver. So here's your Y on the backside on the 2-man edge. Okay, center, guard, okay, tackle, extra tackle, and then our receiver was out here. And I know I don't have enough board. Can you see all the way where I tried to put him out there? So let me try it one more time. I'm trying to make it big enough, okay, so you can get the whole board in there. I hope that's I messed that up already. Okay, so we did this right here. We brought that extra tackle in, and this way the receiver was on the line of scrimmage, right? Okay, and so so it's eligible formation, and then we start the same thing. We lined up just like this. So now, we've tilted our hat, but this was for those teams if we wanted to run it away, some of these teams, what would they do? If you got a 3-man edge and a 2-man edge, okay, well, guess what? They'll line up a regular defense across, and we would get stuff like this. So, yeah, you're gonna get your 5 technique. Let's say he's a 5, okay. Yeah, you're gonna get this guy right here. You're gonna get your 3. We never got a 9. If a team played you with a 9 here, you were just destroyed. We destroyed them, right? That was bad. So we usually got like that 6. I know some people call it's a 7, right?
Yeah.
7. People call it 7. I'm gonna tell you, in Texas, here's a secret organization of younger coaches. We're pissed off about this whole counting system. So we decided, we said we're going to storm the old coaches hall one day drunk and be like, why the hell do we still call it a 7? If it's a 5, why don't we just call it a 6-eye? The head up guy's a 6 or whatever. So if I put 6-eye, that's how you know. So here's that 6-eye guy, inside shade, and that was for our kids too because they weren't very smart.
Yeah.
Okay. And you got 6, and then you got like this either extra backer or overhand guy, and you got the safety, you got the or the corner, the safety, and then now you're off and running, and then back over here, they still kept the safety high, and then there was a corner. So you had this thing going on, okay, and all we did was, guess what? This guy's blocking down, right, and then sometimes this guy wouldn't have anything to kick. It turned into like a fold almost. But it was better for us because now it turned into automatic sweep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just got out there. There's nobody. So, you get all this going on, play side gap, and we got the stealing wheel. And then now you get a fullback through there to inside. You get a middle back in here to boom, but there's really nobody. So the middle back didn't have anybody. He's gone. So he ended up on this poor soul. Right? And then here came the safety. I'm going to try to help. And then, the quarterback pitches it back, and he ends up picking up the backside safety, and we were out the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough deal. So,
yeah. You're essentially running a variation of power sweep there. That's why I call that. Yeah.
That's it. And, I mean, that's that deal. So that was part of the unbalanced that we started to go into, right? Lined up in that balance formation. And I'm just going to draw this up, and I can draw the play, but so that was, we had big, we had thin, and then here was fat. Fat was just like this, coach. So all we did on fat was we came over here, we did this deal. So fat was, we took that receiver back out, and we added in another tackle. So we had a 4-man edge. So here came an extra tackle. We called him the fat tackle. So the fat tackle comes in over here, and then here's your tight end. Right?
Yep.
No receivers, and you got the same thing. So now, I guess it's important for me to say here, and I think we talked about it, I'm not sure in the last podcast, but I've talked to many coaches about this. Whenever a coach, I guess when it's spread or throwing guys, air raid guys, whenever they say unbalanced, when I think unbalanced first, I always think first level. So I'm like, okay, we're going to add in more linemen.
Yeah.
Because as a game planner, I'm an closet offensive line guy, and I'm a running backs coach. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking I want to find a way to run the ball first. I get all my runs out of the way. Then I'm going to find a play action off the runs, a counter to the runs, right?
Yeah.
So this was unbalanced. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side. So that would make the defense shift over. But you got to be a good football coach because you got to know, and this is how I learned. So imagine me, 20-something years old, I'm on the board. Coach like, well, how's the defense going to slide? James, get up there and draw on the board. So I had to, as a coach, get up here and say, okay, I got to have a guy here, right? I got to keep this guy here, or I got to walk a backer down. So let's act like it was that other defense. So this guy was put into a 4-eye, and they move a backer for run support. And if I had a nose who was here, that nose is going to slide over here or do a full slide sometimes.
Yeah.
Split a full slide over, okay? So I'll just go ahead and do that for shits and giggles. And then whatever this 4-eye was that was here before, or the 5, well, guess what? He ended up being either inside shade or head up here. So basically a 6 technique is where he was. And then, so there's my interior 3, right? And then I had like another guy, and here came this backer walked up outside here. So look at what you've done. You've made them slide all the way over, and you're running kick. Now here's the beauty of running it this way, because the backers, they also had to slide, right? They couldn't stay in their same gaps. And then you had the same thing, okay? Yeah, and you had the same thing going on. So, and I really, let me see here, tackle, fat tackle. And see, I even messed this up. He is the fat tackle coming over. See, I screwed it up, fat. This is where I kept my other tight end. What did I call him? I think I called him a U last time. So it's still a 2 tight end. So fat, And big were the same thing, except for you took a guy out, you brought in, I think I'm doing that right. You just took your tackle and you moved him over, right? And then the other tight end just slid down. So you had a two-man edge, boom. So I've got eligible, all these guys. So what does that force? Nope. What does that force the defense to do? Stay too high. You still get the corners. You still get all that stuff. I know another adjustment. They put 3 backers in the box, 1 high safety, and the corners were man, and they let these guys do force and contain, which is a bad idea. So you just pick your poison. But what they did know was on this play is whenever we did this, well, guess what? Nobody's rule changes. Yeah. I'm the fat tackle. I'm not this tackle. I'm not the kick tackle. So guess what? I block what? Down. I got the same rule as this guy. So right here, all we ended up doing was we just told him if nobody blocked down to, he was going to combo, and then they blocked this guy down. That was like an ass whooping. We put our best 2 linemen out there, or a tight end, and this guy would kick his butt, and here we go. And then guess what? I'm reaching, I'm kicking, I'm play side gap, seal the wheel, and you got the same deal, right? You got the same deal up in here. I mean, you talk about murder. I mean, that is just wow. And Coach, I'm telling you, we ran it for years and years. And the only way people could even slow us down was they would try to put as many people as they could on the line of scrimmage and try to blitz gaps.
Yeah, give you like that 7-1 diamond crap. That I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
My old school coach used to call that. We used to play in Laredo, Texas. I don't know if you know anything about Laredo, but Laredo's its own different place here in Texas. And we go down there and we see defenses that they just like amoeba defense. You're like, what is that? There's no name for them. Yeah. So whenever we saw a defense like that, where they were just trying to blitz a whole bunch of, and it's going to sound terrible, a whole bunch of Hispanic guys in there, whatever, he called it the Alamo defense. And I was like, okay, last defense. They blitzed everybody. I was like, okay. And I said, why you calling that? He goes, because there ain't nobody left. They blitzed everybody to one side trying to guess where you're going to run. And, of course, we had counters off of it where we fake it. The quarterback would keep it because they slid everybody. Yeah. Safety roll.
Naked runs. Yep.
So there was kind of some unbalanced stuff. And don't get it twisted, Coach. We've even done this. We get rid of the middle back, guess what? And we came out here and we put another guy. We put another tackle out here, a tight end or whoever, and we did that. So we had a 5-by-2 edge, and we still ran it. And, Coach, there's some teams, and the rule of thought is when you have unbalanced line is if they don't slide to a count, okay, you run the play, you got them killed. Because you're going to get down blocks all the way.
And you always get that team that either doesn't do it initially or just doesn't adjust. Like, it's horrible. Like, right. You see it all the time. Or they try to over-adjust, and that's even worse because they're still lined up wrong. So, like, trust me, I get it, Coach. Like, I've done under center offenses about half my career, so
there you go.
I'm well aware of the unbalanced slaughter and the fact that no one can line up correctly.
No, I got you. And this last one, because I don't know how much time we have, but I just want to throw this one up, and you may want to spend more time talking about this one later. But, this one was
the old Florida Tim Tebow set, yes.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing about it, Coach, is what year was that when they were running at Florida?
Oh, what was that, like 05, 06, somewhere there? Like, that sounds
maybe
right.
That's where they got. But we call this, Coach, the pickle. And we call this the pickle because it put teams in the pickle. Like, they didn't know what to do. And, Coach, all we did was run power, which was super power, like what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Right? And we ran power. So these guys don't even count the receivers, but you didn't know what you were going to get. So let's just act like it was going to be this deal. And, it didn't matter if they would kind of keep these guys in the box and whatever you have. What they did, teams did to us, is they take their corners and they man-to-man the receivers, and they use the safeties
as edge players.
To walk them down, which makes sense. That's a smart team because your corners aren't better tacklers. And I'm going to tell you why. So all we did was run power. So you run power, right? We did this deal. Nobody blocked down. So we would combo him back to the backside backer. Of course, he would skip pull around right here, inside out kick, okay? This guy, that ceiling wheel block right here on the backside. Now, you're saying what would this guy do? Was simple. He would get on his hip like it's GF, except it's not GF because he's not kicking, and this guy is still pulling power, and he'd go in, and his rule was, if this guy's got whatever first backer shows, I've got second backer to backside. And that's all he'd do is come through here, and he'd start looking back inside. The quarterback always opened away from the play. And the reason is this, the counter off of it, which I'll show you. So tailback, step, he drove, and then he was trying to drive back to this A gap. If it's open, I took it. If not, he's bending to the play right here, okay? The play's coming to me. I'm gone on the deep route to run the corner away. Plays away from me. I run the reverse. So can you see what the play is
Yep.
off of it?
Yep.
There you go. So then that's all we did. We run power. This guy would run over here. This guy would run here and run back over here. This guy was man to man. This guy didn't know what the hell to do, and because they didn't know where the ball was. Because we ran power and then we ran reverse. So we called power skins, and we had skins right, reverse right.
Yeah.
And we ran GF. I mean, it was all kind of stuff. We did a quarterback GF play on it. So this was we call this the pickle. This is my favorite thing. And we even started unbalancing this. And because the great thing out of all this was the pass pro. Because it was these two guys right here, you saw me draw F's by them, well, they were actually real fullbacks or tight ends. Or Coach, one time I put a tackle back here. And because they don't have to be super athletic. You know what I mean? They just have to be grinders. This was your best cat. These guys were your best cats, and this guy's the guy that made it go. But you don't have to have a great quarterback. The year before I got there, they put a backup offensive guard who didn't get playing time. We call him the quarter guard. Coach, he was great. He was great on kick. He lead up in there on the toss. That's like stealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. But then you come over here, and old school coach I had, he just called our pass pro Lizzie and Remy. Right, Lizzie and Remy. That's all these offensive line players were looking for. The running backs in the backfield was looking for. They were looking for the play call. Was it skins left or skins right? So it was a long play call because old school coach.
Yeah.
So play call would be Lizzie, pickle, skins right, pass. Right. So Lizzie, full slide, Lizzie. And the reason is, if I'm this guy, I got this gap. I got this gap. I got this gap, and so on. Well, this guy would jump up right on his hip. I got that gap. This guy comes across. I got off of your head. If I get an outside rusher, I'm sliding to form a pocket. The quarterback opened up, skins right. He came here fake, shut it down. He came up, tagged his hip, and then same thing. I get a rusher, I slide. So here's the pocket. So you got 5, 6, 7, 8-man protection.
Jesus.
Okay? And then here came the reverse. Why? To hold this contained player out here, right?
Yeah.
You held him. So then what do you get? You get a one-on-one with that guy.
Yeah.
Right? So that's all we did. We did this, and we ran the corner, okay? We ran a post sometimes. We ran this one play that was nasty. Boom, we called it crack and go. He went deep because he's man. And, I mean, we threw – one time I think our quarterback was like 5 for 7 for 200 yards in a game and 2 touchdowns. Just because – and all he did was throw 7 passes.
Yeah. I mean –
That's it. That's it.
What happens when you're functional and simple? I mean,
yes, sir.
It looks complicated, but if you only run the same things over and over again, it ain't.
That ain't it.
Oh.
Can you think about that on a practice script?
Oh,
we
God.
never had a problem filling up. We ran our plays twice as much as another team because that's all we ran. That's it. So it was.
Well, it comes back to that philosophy of do you try to have an answer for everything, which is the Mark Martz school of thought, or do you try to I'm gonna find 4 or 5 things that run really well and just run them out a bunch of formations or stuff like that. Like I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody that's played or coached for Mike Martz. That man's playbook was insane. Like from what I've been told. Like
I never talked for anybody that played directly for him, but I actually I coached a player that got a chance to meet him and saw his playbook, and then I knew a couple of guys I played high school football with that played for him when he was with the Rams, I believe. Right, wasn't he the head coach, the offensive coordinator for the Rams?
Yeah.
So I was like, what?
Yeah, he wants from what I've been told, he wants like an answer for everything, and like, I mean, I had one person tell me like he's like the 2-point goal line section was like over 200 pages alone. Like I was like, whoa. I mean, if everybody knows that and you got that crap down, great. But I mean, it ain't happening in high school.
Nope, it is not. It is not. So I don't know those smart guys like that, Coach. My head coach would tell me he's not very smart, but I'm telling you, he was very smart about a lot of things that I learned.
Yeah.
And one of the things I took from him for anything that you do offensively is that, and I will add some things because I tell you what, who's the coach now that he came to row the boat?
PJ Fleck.
Yeah, so he's one of my favorite coaches now because for me, he makes everything so simple. You know, the way he goes about doing it, the purpose, he explains it. So all the videos I see, I'm like, okay. So Coach Matthew Elliott, my mentor, the way he explained it that made sense to me when I was younger was that he goes, okay, think about football. You got to win the turnover battle. So we want to run an offense that limits turnovers. So as a running backs guy, my job was very important, right? Ball security. Okay? Our defense is going to love us because we're going to chew the whole clock up. So no turnovers. Penalties. Can't have penalties. Well, if you run the same play over and over again, our defense would junk front, move, throw. Sometimes a coach would fucking run in the backfield to see if anybody would move. You know, we did all kinds of, and our guys just, you know what I mean? Now, if someone crossed that line of scrimmage, then they snapped the ball and we were off and running. But, so no turnovers, no penalties, one limit. And then he talked to me about something about, which PJ Fleck talked about too, about adversity, you know? We talked about adversity, that there's going to be something that somebody does wrong. You're going to screw it up. You're a teenager.
Yeah.
Move on and focus on the next play. All right. And then he talked about tackling. You know, the team that tackles the best usually wins the football game. So we're going to work on tackling all the time. So we focus on those 4 things, and then have fun was the last one, or actually being more physical than the other team. That's actually more near the top. He would kill me if he heard this broadcast right now. But being more physical than our opponent. So that's what we trained to do. That's what those kids love to do. And we moved on to another place, and they hadn't made the playoffs like in 7 years, and we were able to win there. And it was so funny to me. We're winning, and parents are still like, "Hey, we're gonna throw it more." I'm like, you know, you didn't go to the playoffs, so.
Oh, I know. Oh, we went 7-3 one year, ran for over 4,900 yards, and they kept asking when we were gonna throw more. I've been there. It's. I mean, that's some people's perception of it, and it is what it is. And I mean, you do have to adapt a little bit to your community. I mean, I will say that, but at the same time, like, we're doing everything in our power as coaches to put our kids in the best position to win.
Right.
I mean, if you're not a coach doing that, then there's a whole other set of problems. But good coaches will, adjust to their personnel and figure out, how can I put them in best advantage win? That's probably Bill Belichick's greatest strength is, and you hear him talk about time. Don't tell me what he doesn't do well. Tell me what he does well so we can do that. Like,
yep.
You see it all the time. Like, this guy will play 8 snaps in a game, but he'll do one specific job in a game. Like,
yep.
That's why he has 5 different running backs. Each of them do something different well. I mean, So, yeah. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. I do have to eat at some point before.
Yeah, you go ahead, because I'll talk forever, man.
I talked to Coach Sheffer tonight on his podcast about by the time this comes out, the podcast will be all right. I think we're talking about Auburn tonight. So, Coach, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too, man.
Coach will probably be back a couple times over the next calendar year. I mean, I know he's got that great state of Texas is slowly starting back, and I got my first game. Actually, by the time this comes out, I probably played my first game against Xenia.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Coach. But, Coach, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. I wish you luck next couple weeks.
You too, man. Peace out. Thanks for having me.